The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hi.
And it's the I know. I just wanted to say something really quickly because last week you gave me crap for an uncomfortable pause.
It's not your fault. I think it's just awkward no matter what. I feel like feels awkward to me. I feel like I'm gonna have to say something like, hey everybody, and yeah, that's like I need to have a ready. Are you familiar with the Flight of the Conchords?
Only tangentially.
So
That's
they have a song. First of all,
not very much. Let me put it that
you
way.
need to dive into that with both hands.
All right.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm sure you're right.
Only because it's sublime and you'll love it.
Right.
But they
Give
do this.
me an extra
They do
4 hours in a day.
They do this rap song. They do this rap song where one of the guys is called the Rhymenoceros.
Awesome.
And he's singing about how he's the Rhymenoceros, and then he hands it over to his partner, the Hip Hopopotamus. And he's like, and the guy goes, "They call me the Hip Hopopotamus. My lyrics are bottomless." And then it's just like he's got nothing. And that's how I feel on the show. Like a lot of times, I'm like, "All right, here we go." And what's next, Andy? What's next?
Awesome. So I had a really good week of movies. I just did. I'm living the dream right now, man. I don't have a lot of movies, but it was a quality week. It's a quality week.
Mine got off to a good start.
Yeah.
And then what's a movie? And then what's a movie? Really?
Sure.
It turned into one of those weeks. So
it
I saw, and it's tricky because we filmed last Tuesday's podcast on Tuesday.
Right.
And so I had a movie that we've already discussed last week so it's like,
right.
That doesn't count towards the week.
Right.
So that Wednesday I saw a movie and I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
And then that Thursday, and then that was Wednesday I saw a movie, and then I think it was like Friday I saw a movie or Saturday.
Yeah.
And then
nothing.
Nope.
So before we dive in, regular listeners will know this. Every Tuesday we tell you what we've seen over the past week, and it's not a complex thing. That's pretty much what we do, right? But before we dive into that, next week, I don't know if it'll come out on Tuesday or Friday. We haven't discussed this yet, but next week we will be having the Melgies. The awards dedicated. I'm so excited for this. The awards dedicated to the superlatives from our Project Melway, where we watched every single Mel Gibson movie in chronological order. We need categories. We're gonna hit all the main ones: the best picture, the best actor, actress. Yep. I mean, the best actor is going to be Mel. It'll be Mel and Mel and Mel and Mel and Mel.
Best performance by Mel in a movie about Mel.
Indeed.
I'm gonna give it to Mel.
But we want some fun ones. If the Oscars can be bloated, why not us? So
that's been my motto about my life for so long.
Yes. So we have two submitted from a viewer. They're from the same person. So everyone who isn't Adam Vibbert, step up your game. We've got the best Mel cry, which is just knocked it out of the park on that one, Adam. His second one, I'll go ahead and spoil it. I'm frankly not sure if we can use it just because I don't remember this well enough. It's the best Mel headbutt. Let me tell you this. I'm sure I could come up with more than one, but the one I was like, oh yeah, totally, that's a nominee and it's probably the win. What I was doing was transposing Mel Gibson's head onto Bruce Willis's body when he's pulling Alexander Godunov up the stairs in Die Hard.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I understand. I have one in mind already, but I don't know if there are other nominees. I just have one in mind.
Fair enough. So, but that's
by the way,
yes.
I forgot to mention this. I feel we did our podcast last week on best movies that were on a really low budget. Mm-hmm. And we were remiss to mention Mad Max, which was filmed for like $1 and a promise.
You're right. That's right.
And
that's right.
And is a fantastic movie.
A fantastic movie. Yes.
In its own very messed up way.
Indeed. It's rough. As our screenwriting professor from college would say, you can see the bones showing, but it's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Phil, what'd you see?
Okay, I saw 2 movies, Andy. 2 movies.
Hit
I saw Prisoners, which I mentioned last week in our podcast.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
So my one-word review of that is woof.
Okay.
Also, and I'm going to try to sound as straight as possible when I say this. Jake Gyllenhaal is dreamy.
Sure.
He really is, though.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him before. Like I've been in places where he was. It's one of the things that happens when you live in L.A.
Sure.
And which I used to live in. I want to remind people that I don't any longer. But now I see no one famous. But I used to see them like all the time.
Sure.
And he was someone I saw a couple times. And he's a handsome fellow in real life. But just in this movie, I think his eyes, he's dreamy. I can see why the ladies love Jake Gyllenhaal.
Sure.
That's not to take away from his performance, by the way. Great performance. Et cetera, et cetera. Dreamy. And then the other movie I saw, I decided it was time for me to get to know Glenn Ford a little bit.
Ooh.
Right. For the very reason of the sound you just made. Now, if you don't know who Glenn Ford is and you're not a big movie buff, which is probably a lot of you, Glenn Ford is Pa Kent from the Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. In other words, he's Clark Kent's earthly father.
Indeed.
He's the Joseph in this Jesus narrative.
Indeed.
And that's how I knew him. And Andy reminded me that he was in the original 3:10 to Yuma. And so I looked him up and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of his movies coming up on like Turner Classic Movies, so I just taped a bunch of them.
I love it. I love this.
Or DVR'd a bunch of them.
Yes.
And I watched a movie called The Fastest Gun Alive.
Sure.
Which is a Western from a couple years before 3:10 to Yuma.
That's a Western?
It's right. Fastest Gun to Yuma. The Fastest Gun Alive is a Western? What? It's actually a movie about the military-industrial complex. No, it's not. Anyways, anyways, so
Ayn Rand wrote the screenplay.
Right, exactly. No, it's not a. Here's the thing, it wasn't a great movie.
Okay.
But it was a cool introduction to, like, Glenn Ford in the Glenn Ford oeuvre.
Okay.
And it had Broderick Crawford in it.
Awesome.
As the just surly as F bad guy. I mean, he was surly. I mean, if you look up a picture of surly in the dictionary, it would be Broderick Crawford. If you looked up surly in the dictionary, it would be a picture of Broderick Crawford in this movie. His whole premise is he's the fastest gun alive, and when he finds out that there are people who claim to be faster, he kills them. Like he's like, I'm gonna draw on you.
Awesome.
And it turns out that Glenn Ford's character is in fact the fastest gun alive, but no one knows it. He's been practicing his entire life, but never has shot anybody.
Wow.
And is living quietly in a little town. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but it's possible that the two are on a collision course, the likes of which you will never forget. So those were my 2 movies. Neither of which I had seen before. I love when that happens.
Sure.
And I gotta say, I think a big reason why I didn't watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Oh, it's TV season again.
It's true. That's true.
And it's actually the time of year where I watch probably the next couple weeks are gonna be me watching a lot less movies. Partially because I do this thing, which is so dumb, where I try out new things.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Especially now, when if anything's good, you can find it on DVD, Netflix, streaming, with it like The League. I never watched The League, and then I watched The League. I caught up on The League 3 seasons in like a minute, and now I'm fine, and I've seen just as much as everyone else, you know? So, like, that's sort of how I feel about trying new shows, and yet I'm trying a couple new shows, and it has taken up a lot of my time.
It's unfortunate. I mean, well, in terms of my time, it's fortunate that I don't have cable right now because not only am I not trying new shows, I haven't watched New Girl. I haven't watched Parenthood. Right. I will catch up with both of those. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I hear it's fun. I'm not going to watch it until I watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know when that'll be.
Great.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet. I have to tell you this, though. Parenthood.
Yeah?
It's back, baby.
Oh.
It's back.
Am I wearing my surprise face?
Andy, you're not. It doesn't miss a beat.
I am.
Like, it doesn't.
I'm so excited.
All I'll say to you is the first episode of the season did not crush me. They actually were like, it was just setting little ducks up. Just set this up. Set this up. Like,
you're like, oh, that's going to crush me next week. That's going to crush me 2 weeks from now. And 5 weeks from now, that other thing is going to totally destroy
this
me.
one character shows up, and I'm like, the moment they open the door to reveal this character, I was like, wow, how many episodes before she tries to ruin that marriage? Like, it's not even like, I was like, oh, setting me up. Nice. I'm not, oh, here we go.
Awesome.
So,
okay.
Anyways,
okay.
Mae Whitman, on a quest to get ever cuter, has succeeded.
You realize I find that almost impossible to believe.
She's cuter than she was.
I believe you.
It's amazing.
All right. She is. You know who she is?
Tell me.
If Parenthood were the Lord of the Rings, she's Sean Astin. She is the unsung glue that holds that show together.
I'm gonna have to think about that. Especially since he's chubby in that movie, and she started out the show chubby. I'm gonna have to think about that. But I know that's why I had to. I'm worried that it's too visual. I have too visual. She's. I have to think about that.
All right.
She is really good on the show, though. I'm not sure if you're right. You might be. See, I think it might be Dax Shepard, but I guess he's not unsung. I guess he's very well sung.
Right. I mean, look. Let's be honest. Everyone on the show is unsung because no one
but like Lord of the
watches
Rings, it's a great cast. So
right.
You're right.
That's right.
No one ever. I think you're right. No one ever talks about Mae Whitman. Although, really, no one ever talks about Parenthood at all.
That's what I said. Yeah, everyone is unsung.
Monica Potter put on a clinic last year.
Clinic.
0 nominations, no Golden Globes, no Emmys, no Grammys. I don't know why she'd get a Grammy, but come on, everybody gets I have a Grammy. You know,
right.
Like, come on.
It's almost like award shows are bogus.
What?
I know.
Are you suggesting that a show based around trying to give awards for artistic achievement could possibly not be valid? Is that what you're saying?
You know what? No, I've received awards for artistic achievement, so I would never actually say that.
I'll never forget. You were we were both freshmen, and I was like, "Best actor? He's a freshman!" Like, and I was way better than him in that other play. No, I'm just kidding. But it was definitely jealous making. I was so proud of you that day. I appreciate
that. I appreciate that.
I'll never forget.
Hey, guess what? We both failed as actors.
I don't agree. I think I did everything I needed to do to prove to myself that this is not the career for me.
That's fair. What is it? What's there's some football quote like we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. So
all right. Now that I'm going to go cry into my shoe later, but go ahead.
I don't know why you do that. Sounds smelly. So I watched 5 movies this week.
Nice.
3 of them new.
Solid, Andy.
I'll tell you the 2 that I had seen before.
Please.
The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which you could have guessed from watching the other 2.
Can you believe when you watched that he actually left the mouth of Sauron out of the version?
No.
It boggles
I know.
It's the best part of the movie.
No.
He literally left out.
The entire thing is the best part of the movie.
I hear you.
Yeah, I know. No, I know.
But what I'm saying is, when you watch the theatrical edition, I don't think Aragorn earns his moment. And I even blamed Viggo Mortensen to some degree for that, which is my bad, Viggo. My bad. It turns out it was completely and utterly Peter Jackson's fault.
Sure. Fair.
Okay, so anyways, continue.
The other one? Wreck-It Ralph, baby.
Golly, you're living life.
Yeah, and you know what?
Doing it right.
It is the one movie that I own on not just Blu-ray but 3D Blu-ray, and I just like really set up my home theater system in the past couple weeks.
Right.
And I was like, I wasn't in love with the 3D the last time I watched it. I'll watch like the first 15 minutes because I got some time to kill. I watched the whole thing.
What kind of glasses? What kind of 3D glasses do you have?
Active. So there is like a bzzz to it, like not so much auditory, but there is a very, very faint visual buzzing, but it's taken care of by watching the TV. Like the clock on, or the readout on my various sort of AV appliances, like the Blu-ray player, is a little squiggly.
But where does one get these 3D glasses?
I got it at Best Buy.
Okay.
It's amazing. It is significantly better than in the theater. I won't tell anyone to like 3D or not, and it's not going to. This is not going to precipitate just a run of buying 3D Blu-rays. Even if I had the money, I wouldn't be interested.
Okay.
But Wreck-It Ralph in 3D is it's candy for your eyes anyway.
But you are of the opinion that 3D done well is something worthwhile.
Yes.
And your point is that this is one of the ones done well.
Yes.
And that is a point well taken.
Yes.
Okay.
3 movies I saw that I had not seen before because they just came out.
I'm so excited to hear what you've seen.
Me too. 2 of them about sex addiction. That was weird.
I know one of them then.
Well, you know of 2 of them. First one. This is in chronological order. Thanks for Sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Mark Ruffalo, Gwyneth Paltrow, Tim Robbins, Josh Gad, Pink.
I know.
Pink. Let's be
Say
honest
it again.
here. Pink.
Okay.
You know who did the best job in the movie? Pink. She was totally
now,
natural.
question, was that because you had to lower expectations and...
Maybe.
Which is fine. That's okay.
No, maybe. I don't know. I will say this.
Someone puts in a solid performance when you're not expecting it. That's worth noting.
I love everyone in this movie at the word go, except for Josh Gad, just because he's new and he's like, oh, you're a fat actor and you're doing a fat actor thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And Pink, because she's Pink. Like I don't know her as an actress, and I barely know her music. And not one of the people that has that have me at hello, that has me at hello, not one of them earned it. So with this one,
so Ruffalo and Gwyneth didn't do their.
They're fine at best. Fine at best. There's some really nice moments, but it couldn't decide. It took too long to decide if it wanted to be a comedy or a drama, and it wasn't all that good at either one of them.
So part of the problem is just that it's not a great movie.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that is absolutely it. Josh Gad.
Because we know Mark Ruffalo. Because we know Mark Ruffalo.
And they still everyone who had me at hello before this movie still has me at hello.
It is. Gwyneth Paltrow does not have me at hello. She doesn't not like. I don't. She's not someone I don't like.
Right.
I don't. I'm not like, well, Gwyneth is in that. First of all, anytime I say the name Gwyneth, I feel like I turned 4 shades whiter than I already am. Gwyneth. But like I feel like my IRA gets a bump every time I say the name Gwyneth.
Nice.
But I think I don't care one way or the other. Like she's great. I think the hardest thing, I love her in the Iron Man movies. Actually, yes. I do. I really love her in the Iron Man movies. Yeah. I will say that it bothers me to try to pair romantically Bruce Banner and Pepper Potts.
It's a little weird. It's a
little offensive to the senses. Okay.
I want to stop talking about it because it just wasn't good enough.
What's the other sex addiction movie?
Don John.
Oh yeah.
Not so much sex addiction, but porn addiction, and but close enough to be thematic with Thanks for Sharing.
Right.
And it's not a perfect movie, but it is really, really good.
Oh, good.
It's great. It's great. I had a blast watching it. Tony Danza is wonderful. Okay. Brie Larson, who I will see this upcoming weekend.
You know how I feel about Brie Larson.
Yes, she is mesmerizing, and she's on the screen regularly, if not frequently. She's on the screen. She has maybe 3 lines. Maybe 3 lines in the movie. Maybe. And and yet she creates a 3-dimensional character. I'm not going to spoil how this happens, but it is wonderful, and you will love it.
I have a new rule, Andy.
What's that?
Brie Larson in all the movies.
In all the movies. That's not a bad call.
How's Kojo in it?
Great, really good. Like, I mean,
I have
a
problem with people who don't think. Well, she looks unbelievable. That's what she does for a living. But she's also a really good actor.
Here's the deal: the fact that she looks unbelievable is part of it. Yeah, she is it. At the beginning, you would be forgiven for thinking, "Oh wow, she's doing her thing." It's oh, I'm acting. I've got a New Jersey accent, But what she is doing, you don't see until her last scene, and it is It is an extremely layered performance.
Well, I look forward to seeing it.
And then the third movie I saw might have been the best. The third new movie I saw might have been the best. It's neck and neck with Don John, and you know what? I win either way. In a World.
In a World.
Exactly. It is about the voiceover for trailers community.
Right.
Lake Bell, who you would know from I have no idea.
She plays Alec Baldwin's second wife in that movie. It's Complicated.
Oh yes, well done there.
That was my introduction to her.
I actually haven't seen that, but I know that.
I'd like to do a whole podcast just on Nancy Meyers movies. I really would. I have so many thoughts.
Fair.
Some of them good, some of them less good, but I have so many thoughts.
Sure. She plays the daughter of a. So Don LaFontaine is the towering. He is the titan of the movie trailer voiceover industry. He is the in a world guy. Okay, but the conceit of the movie is there was a guy who was almost as successful as getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Blah blah blah, and she plays his daughter, and so she's like, and he is just the worst. He's a bad guy, but he's not a terrible guy. But he is a terrible father. It encompasses a reasonable number of characters, and basically there is a quadrilogy being made, and it is clearly aping the Hunger Games, and it's just hilarious every time you see anything about it. It's called the Amazon Games, and they are resurrecting the In a World for this trailer, and it has everybody in the industry sort of all a Twitter, and it is about her, and there are various romances in it, but it's not a romantic comedy, and there is drama in it, but it is not a comedy drama. It's just a really well done, well-rounded comedy movie.
I like it.
Rob Corddry is in it in a largely dramatic role, and
he's been doing that a little bit lately. He was not. I mean, the way back.
That's right. That's right. It's very similar tonally because he does go for laughs and he achieves them. Like he doesn't do one better than the other, but his storyline, the dramatic parts, affected me much more than I thought they were going to, and overall, it's just a delightful movie. It's just delightful. I loved it.
I will see it eventually. Yeah. I will see it.
Seek it out,
I just don't know when that's going to happen.
Sure. And Don John, both of them, just delightful movies. Stay through the first 20 minutes of Don John because there's a lot of nudity and there's a lot of sideways, like side of your eye glimpses of porn. But it's
there's a reason
of those things.
No, sure, of course. Of course. Awesome. All right. Shall we move on?
Yeah,
yes.
To one big thing.
Perfect.
Do it, man. What's your one big thing?
I'm going to break with character here. I'm going to break with the theme of the show a little bit.
I already don't like it. I fear change.
God, you remind me of Justice Scalia in your radical devotion to a very specific way to approach the show, Andy.
Second Breakfast Nation. Phil has found my kryptonite. Because there is a type of person who is my least favorite person, and that is an absolutely brilliant person who is willfully obtuse. I don't care if you agree with Scalia on everything. Well, I guess I care a little. But Scalia routinely masquerades as kind of an idiot so that he can make his point when he is clearly maybe the smartest person ever.
Right.
So, Phil, I hate you.
From the bottom of my heart.
I will get over it.
Flames!
On the side of my face. They were heaving, breathing flames.
So anyways, people, we're gonna break from the normal theme. And I have to. My one big thing is Breaking Bad.
Nice.
And I will not do spoilers. I am not someone who believes in with TV shows like this, it's going to take some people years to catch up. And I'm not even going to talk about if it was a good ending or any of that stuff. Well, I will say that I think it was a great last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it did all the things that a finale is supposed to do.
Yep.
I think what I'm interested in talking about is, first of all, this was as close to a perfect show. And no, this is one of the most perfect shows that I have ever seen. It was a show that did exactly what it wanted to do. It was a show that I was very skeptical about from the beginning.
Okay.
And which won me over.
Okay.
Very quickly.
Did you watch from the beginning?
No, I didn't, because I was like, whatever.
Right.
And people were like, this is the greatest show, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I never had an emotional attachment to this show the way I did to The Sopranos or Friday Night Lights or Deadwood or, frankly, even to Mad Men.
Okay. That was going to be my question. Okay.
I am but that's kind of what I want to talk about, just as to say there's this very strange, it seems almost like a need for people to like a show by talking about how it's not other shows. Like a show in a way that somehow lessens the quality of other shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I want to say is, like, I watched Breaking Bad. Once I got into it, I watched it every week. And it was the first thing that I watched when I could watch it.
Uh-huh.
And if there were more than one episode, I watched it. And it was phenomenal. And everyone in it was amazing. And Vince Gilligan is a genius and seems like a wonderful guy to work for, which isn't always the case for geniuses. I'm not naming names like the people who created Mad Men. David O. Russell. I'm not naming David O. Russells. I'm not naming Matthew Weiners. But
Is he like the David O. Russell for television?
I have heard stories that
okay.
It is as bad as that.
Woof.
I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know that it's that bad only because it's not documented.
Right. You can't find it on YouTube.
But it is the things that I have heard about the way that he treats people on his staff. And it's public stuff. I mean, it's not like I have some insider knowledge.
Right.
It's just what you read when you look around.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
But, and that actually infuriates me all the more because I love Mad Men so much. How could someone so terrible create something that to me is so important?
Right.
And so incisive. But anyways, that's not the point. Breaking Bad is this show that's really, really great. And for some reason, people need to go like, best show ever. Better than this show.
Right.
Well, I mean, okay. First of all, no, it isn't. Unless it is. Whatever. Who cares? Like, this is why. This cuts to the core of why I think from the beginning when you and I, and this will get into our next segment actually, when you and I first started talking about doing a podcast.
Yes.
Why I was like, I don't want to talk about objective, like, this is the best evers, or this, we're not going to get into rankings. We're not going to get into definitive lists.
Yep.
We just talk about things we like.
Mm-hmm.
And if we talk about things we don't like, we try to talk about them for reasons of why we would like them or want to like them.
Yes.
Because that's much more realistic. So Breaking Bad is a show that people are going to discuss as the best show ever.
I don't. Hang on. I might take a little exception to realistic because what I think is realistic is people compare, like humans compare things. And so you can't. So that's why, I mean, it's an almost biological need to.
I know.
To say best show ever, and not just leave it at that, not just leave it at the exaltation, but say best show ever, and every other show sucks, right?
What?
I guess what I'm saying is that we are the next step in evolution.
You and I?
Yes, at least. Because
here's the thing: is that Sopranos really is the best show ever, but also that when I say that. One, I'm perfectly willing to make fun of myself.
Sure.
But two, I don't think that at the expense of another show.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying that it's the best show ever, and here's what's wrong with Breaking Bad. Nothing was wrong with Breaking Bad!
You're saying it the same way we use the term perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, but it was, did you watch the finale?
I did.
What was your thoughts?
I just... One of our friends from college, I think said it best, or I won't say what his Facebook status was verbatim because I can't. There weren't any spoilers in it, but
Right.
He was just like, I guess the most surprising thing is that it wasn't that surprising because it was just great.
Right.
It was just solid, and I don't mean solid in any way as an insult. It's just like, this is a show that has given you the sense from, you can't say the first episode, but from the second episode, you have sensed a pattern, and just because one point doesn't make a line, right? So you can't say it from the first episode, but from as early as possible, it has seemed to have a plan. And the last episode was the fulfillment and conclusion of that plan. Period.
Yes.
But, I feel like it didn't take a step wrong. And I have read things like, it was too safe, and there's... And I
no,
just
that's not true.
Categorically disagree with that.
It's true that you read that. It's not true that they did that.
Indeed. Right. I am not disputing the existence of that thing that I laid my eyeballs on.
Right. No, I guess the only thing they played safe was if there was a template for how to end a show satisfyingly, it could be built off of this.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and they did that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that there's a right way for it to end. You know? Like...
Yeah. Yes.
I always go back to that with The Sopranos, right? My brother and I were talking about that today, whereas if people would say to David Chase, like, we don't like the way you ended it. And he's like, okay, well, how would you have it end then?
Right.
Oh, Tony Soprano, you see Tony Soprano getting killed? Okay. Great, there's your ending. Oh, he gets away? Okay, to get shot another day. Like, enjoy your life. That's why I actually think that in the long run, 20, 30 years from now, people are going to be like taking notes. Holy crap, Sopranos, this is how it ended a show.
Right.
Because of that. But I think this gave us answers and was satisfying. Gave us, tied things up in a way, and it was more like a novel. It was more like a book, like a consistent story.
Yes.
And it ended satisfyingly. And I'm glad it's over, by the way. You ready for that? I'm glad it's over. Thank God it's over. It is exhausting, that show.
And it only got more exhausting.
It taxed you to watch that show. Thank God Breaking Bad's over.
So many of my favorite shows, and I don't think this says anything thematic, I think it just happens to be. Like, Friday Night Lights got easier to watch as it went on because you just fell so in love with everybody. Battlestar Galactica, I feel the same way about. Buffy and Angel and The Sopranos, and what I've seen of various, even The Wire. God, the first 6 episodes of The Wire, I was like,
oh my gosh. I was like, could we move a little slower here? Seriously?
Right? Just show me Omar again, because that's the only thing I can.
Because he's the most fun thing that ever could happen.
Indeed. But it got easier, and all of a sudden it was like watching downhill. Well, Breaking Bad was watching uphill.
You're right.
And that is, again, I feel like you have to say...
a total compliment to the show.
Total compliment. It is not an insult.
That was what they clearly tried to do.
Yes.
I think the best example of that is... I lost it. I had one. You said that whole idea of watching a show, it getting easier as you watched it.
Yeah.
And I had a great example of that. And
Deadwood.
No, I'm not going to mention Deadwood anymore. Although that's actually true. That is true about it, because you got into the rhythm of the way they spoke.
Right.
And then you were like, all right, cool, I know what's happening now. It took me, I was going to say Mad Men. Mad Men, the first half season, if not more, you're like, oh, what is this about? Now? Oh, it's my favorite thing. When I see Mad Men on my DVR, I'm like, it's the Mad Men-a-thon. So, and I literally, you can ask my wife, I'm so obnoxious. While we're watching Mad Men, I'm giggling. And I'm like, did you see that? They're like, rewind it. Like I watch this serious show like other people watch, like
Real
Modern
Housewives.
Family. Yeah, totally. Like Real Housewives.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. So
And
that's
she's
my
like,
one big thing.
I can't believe I married you.
Breaking Bad happened. It's over. Also, by the way, it's really interesting. Like, you think about the fact that it ended the way it ended, partially because AMC didn't want to keep making it because they didn't want to spend the money. Like, he had to cut it short, or he had to cut it when he cut it.
Right.
Like, because they were like, we're only going to do this for so much longer. People always talk about The Sopranos going on longer. If Breaking Bad had been on HBO, it would still be going on. It would be a 10-season show.
Sure.
Because they'd just be paying them. Sopranos, the reason they kept being Sopranos is because HBO was like, David Chase, how much money do you want? And he was like, oh, I don't know, this much? And they're like, fine. And he's like, really? So, I mean, part of the reason people love the tightness of Breaking Bad is because it belonged to a network that never really wanted it.
Yeah.
And now acts like it's so glad to have had it.
AMC might be the David O. Russell of networks.
I think David O. Russell might learn his lesson. And I think AMC will crash and burn.
Interesting.
I think when Walking Dead and Mad Men are gone, AMC falls apart. I think its original programming falls apart, and it goes back to being.
Okay.
No, we'll see. I mean, or they get a new owner.
Right. Because you know what didn't work? The Killing.
Nope. Or Rubicon.
Or Hell on Wheels.
Hell on Wheels is on its second season, but it's not really working. Some people watch it though. It turns out.
I've heard it's the best show on television from people that I don't trust.
They were lying.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one big thing.
Thank you.
And I love how it does tie into what our sort of main topic of the day is, as does mine. My one big thing, and this is kind of the biggest thing because because this is the 30,000 foot view, and this might seem like a cop out, but I've had a number of experiences lately where this held true. I am. Second Breakfast Nation, I hope you're sitting down.
You have me on pins and needles right now.
I hope you're sitting down. I'm a guy who likes to talk.
What?
I know. But it's funny for someone who I think is pretty good at commanding a room, at attracting attention of the good and bad kind. I have sort of bouts of insecurity when I enter a new situation.
Okay.
And much like dudes can always talk sports, the fact that I am able to always talk movies has sustained me in periods of my life and events in my life that otherwise would have gone very differently. And so my one big thing is sort of the wonderful nature of how talking about movies is almost, talking about art has almost become an art in and of itself. You know, art in the beginning was largely oral. Like everything that wasn't a cave painting was a story.
Right.
And I can't tell a story on television. And I can't tell a story through a symphony. And I can't tell a story in a TV show. But I can talk about those things. And somehow, and maybe it's the YouTube comment section generation and world that we live in now. But like, there is nothing new. And so I don't feel bad when I talk about movies, when I quote movies incessantly. Because every time I quote a movie in a group larger than me, somebody answers with the next line of that movie. Every single time. And I think that is amazing. And it taps into why I love movies. I think it taps into why I love talking movies with you. Why I love doing this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I love what you just said, and I think that's right. You find kindred spirits, but you break the ice and you use... I mean, there's a reason nobody talks about art anymore, because nobody's looking at art, not the way they used to.
Yeah, it's true.
At least as far as I know. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they never did. But but the movies are a populist art form.
Yep.
unless they're French or made by Merchant Ivory. And we talk about them, and you're connecting yourself to people. And there are, for me, at least you grew up watching sports. I didn't grow up watching sports.
Fascinating.
I actually started watching sports so I'd have something to talk to other men about, and I picked baseball. What a bad call on my part. Should have picked football. Too late.
I chose F1 racing.
Right. My brother likes F1 racing. And I'm like,
I like
okay,
it, fine.
enjoy yourself with that.
Right.
I should have chosen NASCAR. Isn't it great how those cars go around that circle?
They're always
Isn't that
turning
awesome?
left. Unbelievable.
Always turn left. Does this thing turn right? No? Okay, sorry. Just asking.
All right.
But I chose baseball. No, but I think you're right. I think there's something fantastic about that. And, it's an art of conversation and of knowing people and of knowing how to, connect to people. And I think talking about movies when you do it right, when we do it right, it's when we do it right, you and I, we are getting other people excited about movies.
Yeah.
That's when we get it right, when we're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, like when we talk about how Wreck-It Ralph is a perfect movie.
Man, I know that there are people who have seen Wreck-It Ralph because of you and me.
Yeah. Yes.
And that makes my heart sing.
Me too.
I think you do your job right when it comes to talking about movies. You actually get people excited about them. That's why even our friends that write and do things like people who are really, really smart, when they talk negatively about something, it's not like they're wrong half the time. It's just but you're not making me love something more. Spend your energy making me love something. It's way more fun, actually. It's a little harder.
That's true.
And I think, Andy, what you that is a great thing you mentioned, because you said you get awkward in situations where you don't know anybody. First of all, no one believes you. You may feel that. You may feel awkward. That's as far as it goes.
That may very well be true. That may very well be true.
I'll tell you, but I think what's great about it is that you have found something that connects people and binds people, rather than just, you don't just fart loudly and leave a room when you're uncomfortable. You find a way to unite people to you by sense of humor. And it's usually going to be sense of humor, because you're probably not going to be quoting something.
Right. I don't break the ice with Ikiru.
Right.
I don't.
Well, first of all, no one would know what you were talking about.
It's true. You're right. I don't break the ice with the Deer Hunter. Right. Five easy pieces. Right. Schindler's List.
You're never when people are leaving, you're never just goodbye, Jews. That's not something that you do.
Yet.
No. Yeah. Have you seen that whole Louis C.K. bit about the little girl as they're escorting all the Jews to the ghettos and getting into the camps? And there's this one German girl who's screaming at the top of her lungs as they're all marching them away to the camps, goodbye, Jews. That someone had to audition for that role. It's just another Louis C.K. genius moment,
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
Some girl didn't have enough hate in her heart for the Jewish race.
Right.
They had to cast someone else.
Yay, mommy! I got the
Art?
I got the part. Right. Yes.
So it's a good one big thing. So we have a special announcement today.
Totally. Take it, man.
Today is today marks the 200th podcast of Second Breakfast.
It's a lot of breakfasts.
Which I think would be more significant if we weren't for a long time doing 5 shows a week. But we've dropped down to 2, and it's a big deal.
Hang on. I will yet again take exception to this, because
Please.
Second Breakfast Nation, you may know this, but I know Phil knows this. How unbelievably grueling putting out 5 podcasts a week is.
If you think listening to 5 podcasts a week is grueling, try freaking making them. It's ridiculous.
I'll tell you, this didn't work out, by design, but we shifted to 2. We took a vacation at the exact right moment, because I would have died. And we shifted to 2, at the exact right moment, because we'd be dead. We'd be two burnt cinders in
I think that's true.
strikingly attractive clothing. If we were still doing 5 a week. So no. No. Yes, we got to it faster, but that does not mean it's easier.
Yep.
You know?
I hear you, and we did it. And but 200 episodes, Andy.
200,
man. And I think we can go into syndication now. First of all,
that's right. 6 seasons of the movie.
Secondly, I've had such a fun time with you.
It has been. I don't know if I've ever done something this much fun.
It is sad that this is going to be our last podcast.
It's true.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Breakfast Nation. Don't go anywhere.
It's gonna be a messy murder suicide thing. It's a whole thing. You know, we're ending it on a high note.
What? And then they died. How have you noticed this change? Like, I don't know. What do you want to say? I have so many questions.
We can get to them. I don't know what to say. I think what you have said this, and you can.
You're like, I don't know what to say.
Not.
He just pulled out the list.
It's true. You have said this, and I don't know if you'll believe me when I say this, but it's true for me too. I watch more movies because of this podcast, and I love it. Even though I'm watching like I'm not watching 14 movies a week anymore, which
right.
I'm not sad that I'm not doing that, because I kind of have a life. Not really, but sort of. You could squint and look sideways, and I sort of have a life. But I like that it makes me think about the movies that I see more, because I have to talk about them, and I know that you're gonna press me on every single freaking detail about them, and so I have to come correct, right? I have to like back up.
You best step correct, son.
Yes. So that's the only thing I want to say in
no, I watch more movies now, and I don't always like it, because I am finding that I feel guilty when I don't watch enough movies. I have a huge threshold for the amount of guilt and shame I'm able to feel, and turns out, and I will do things like sit down and be like, I guess I should watch a movie now. So we talked about earlier in the podcast, like, it's TV time now.
Right, that's right.
And because it's TV time, like, the seasons are back on, there's a bunch of new stuff, and I am watching a lot of television, and so I only watched 2 movies this past week, and there was a part of me that was like, I only watched 2 movies. Most people in the world don't watch 2 movies they've never seen before every week. That's a ridiculous thing.
Yes.
If we watched 1 movie a week, brand new to us, we would still be, like, far ahead of the curve.
Agreed. Yes.
So, like, and yet there's this weird thing inside of me since I've started documenting the movies. Mm-hmm. I am weird about that, where I try to pretend it doesn't matter, but I totally care.
Yes, it's true.
And so there's that thing. I'm taking the day off tomorrow from work. I haven't had a day off in a couple weeks. And I'm telling you right now, I'm totally going to try to watch a movie, and I'm going to try to watch 2. And if I watch less than 2, there's a part of me that's going to act like I failed.
Well, Phil, you will have failed.
Okay, good. So that's the downside for me. The upside is, I'll tell you what happened. You said earlier that we failed at acting, and I joked, oh, ho, ho, but I got to tell you, like, and I won't speak for you.
Okay.
I'll speak for myself, and this may just me being prideful and delusional. That's fine. I'm willing to accept that that's possible.
Sure.
I've never felt like I failed at acting. I feel like I left it before I became successful. And I left it because I knew it wasn't what I really was. But I will say that leaving acting felt like a divorce and was very painful for me in some ways. Because as much as I came to understand that I was a priest and not an actor, I had thought of myself as something for so long that to come to grips with something else, I had to really I really changed the way I watched movies. Mm-hmm. I watched a lot less movies for a long time. Mm-hmm. I shifted to television, which I always watch TV, but part of it really was like because movies was the thing I loved the most.
Right.
And so and really coming to grips with the idea that movies were not going to be a part of my life the way that they had been before.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was so you and I sitting around talking about movies has gotten me back into a relationship with movies in a way that I think makes sense for me.
That's great.
It's still a totally absurd way to like movies. Watching every single Mel Gibson movie in chronological order is effing ridiculous.
You got no one to blame for but yourself for that one.
I will blame you 2% and me 98%.
I having thought about it, I would go as high as 5.
Okay, that's fine.
5.
Well,
yeah,
we'll settle it 4.
Sounds great. So deal. Shake on it. I'm listening to an audiobook right now where one of the
right now while we're Andy.
Yes,
is that why you're wearing headphones?
I am extraordinarily talented at multitasking.
It's obnoxious.
One of the character voices sounds so much like, and I won't do it because I can't do it as well as either the actor or the audiobook narrator. It sounds exactly like Burt Lancaster in Field of Dreams.
Okay.
He's like, I best be getting home before the relationship begins to think I got a girlfriend. Like that kind of thing. And every time I'm like, it's Archie Moonlight Graham. Anyway, let me clarify because yes, I said we both failed at acting. Ha ha ha! How droll. But
how droll.
But I agree with you. I think that is true for you, and I think it is true for me. And if I could say it slightly differently, because this is actually how I think about it, I never failed at acting. I failed at the business of acting. You know. And it really is, I mean, stunningly, it's not what it's like in college. And I knew it wouldn't be, but I didn't expect that even though I had a successful ratio of auditions to parts won, I didn't expect, even though that was the case, for more than 99% of my time being spent neither rehearsing nor performing.
And I think a huge reason why I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore was that exact thing.
Yes.
But I thought if I go into the priesthood, I will spend the vast majority of my working on things I care about and doing something that matters to me.
Yes.
And if I go into acting, I won't.
Yeah.
At least maybe I will at some point. No, because even the people who are great at movies and do a lot of stuff, a lot of them still only do 1 movie a year, 2 movies a year.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like, I don't know that I can handle that.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
agreed.
I don't know. I also think that I'm terribly vain, and that I don't think it. I know that I'm terribly vain.
We
and
have
if I ever
podcast that's our faces and voices,
And if I ever became famous, I don't know that anyone can handle me. So I think it's probably better that I don't ever become famous.
Sure. Well then.
That being said, I do want more people to listen to this podcast.
Yes.
More for the money, though. Really.
Right.
Because we don't have any, and I'd love to have some.
Right. The money. In America, first you get the what is it? First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. Yeah.
I got a woman, and I don't have any money or power. So.
You're doing it backwards.
I have magical Jesus powers, so I guess I have the money. I guess I have the woman, and the power. Why don't I have the money?
Phil, I don't know.
This is a disaster.
Let's get back to the podcast.
Let's
get back to the podcast. How has it changed your relationships with people who are not me?
Oh, my wife is so freaking sick of you. It's ridiculous. I mean, a big reason for me that I think it's better that we moved to 2 podcasts is, I was just, you and I were filming every day, and it really was like, my wife was like, when do I see you now? What happens?
Yeah.
So that wasn't good. But I mean, it is fun because I've watched movies with my wife, and I figure I find stuff for her to, it's funny, we don't talk about this, like, my wife is not as big a movie fan as you and I, but she watches a lot of this. She has now seen a whole lot of Mel Gibson. Not all of it. Not all of Mel Gibson.
Right.
But a lot of it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
She embarked on a Project Melway of her own, you know? So she's subjected to a lot of this stuff. And I don't know. It hasn't changed a lot, partially because and maybe this is my fault, like, I don't want to, like, I have friends that I'm like, do you ever listen to my podcast? And they're like, nah. And then I'm like, well, let's talk about something else.
Right.
Because it's a little too personal.
Right. If we keep talking about this, I'm going to hate you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a part of me that I resent people more now. Nice.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of that.
No, I mean, it is funny. Like, I've made friends. I have made friends. I'm friends with art director Keith Piccaro now. I'm friends with Daniel Carlson.
Yes.
I'm friends with Bobby Gottfried.
Yes.
You know, all your friends are becoming my friends.
Yes.
And soon you will no longer be necessary.
I'm phasing myself out.
Once I have procured them all. I think when Andrew Blumberg's fiance Facebook friends me, mission accomplished.
Nice. That's when.
I think we'll call it a day.
That's when the pod person can come out of the shell and replace me.
That's it.
Nice.
But what about you? I mean, how has it been different for you?
Well, I have to say, I have the greatest friends in the world, and the reason, and in this one thing and in no other, when I say my friends, I do not include you, because we're going to talk about the stuff we're going to talk about. Yeah, right. It is amazing that my friends talk about. So there was a time right when we started the podcast where, like, every single conversation I had with anyone was about movies. It was like, how's the podcast going? So what do you think of this movie? So what do you think of this movie? So what do you think of this movie?
Right.
But that was because I have the greatest friends in the world. That was short-lived. Yeah. And now, when I try to talk about something that is not movies, my friends will talk about something that is not movies. And when I talk about movies, they will talk about movies. And they will, and obviously, this insinuates that I am always the one coming up with the topic of conversation. Of course, that's not true. But it is to their credit that what they talk to me about is not always movies. Because let's be honest, I don't know anything else.
It's helpful.
I don't know anything else.
You know about law, but they don't want to talk about that.
I don't really know about law. I slept through like.
Look at your shirt. No, I don't believe you. Look at your shirt. Look at your bank account. I don't believe you.
Nice. That's fair. That's
fair.
I
mean, and that's like, and that's the same with me. Like, because seriously, I mean, the thing I know about besides movies is Jesus. You know who wants to talk about that with me? Nobody. Come on. Who wants to talk about Jesus? My people at my church do. And shockingly, if you talk about Jesus enough, people actually show up. But that's a whole other thing. But in your daily life, man, I walk around with my collar on, and people will come up and talk to me. And it's kind of interesting. I think it's a really cool thing. But I mean, people don't want to. People who kind of are like,
right,
you're weird. So yeah, movies. At least I can talk to them about movies. And I you know what else is like? It's made me feel. I feel productive and disciplined.
Yeah.
And I think I like myself better. I like Second Breakfast Phil better.
Yeah.
Than non-Second Breakfast Phil.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that I have been able to change my life in a number of productive, proactive, and positive ways in the time that we have been doing this podcast. Because if you impose a structure, that structure helps you impose other structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so on, and so on, and so on.
Indeed.
But it has been fun, and I think it'll continue to be fun. I hope that we can continue to build off it. I hope that people will continue to watch us. I hope that if you're listening or watching, that you. I mean, seriously, I know this. I've said this before. Andy's way better at self-promotion than I am. You are much more shameless in just being like, I'm not very good at it, believe it or not. I put myself out there a lot, but then I won't talk about it. It's very strange.
Sure.
So my family would think that I'm big on self-promotion because I write an article for the newspaper, I do a podcast, I stand in front of people and talk. Right. But when I'm not doing those things, I don't go to people and be like, hey, you should really subscribe to this paper so that you can read my thing. I don't do that.
Right.
I don't tell. There's a whole group of people that I did not go on Facebook and say like our quote unquote like our podcast, because I didn't want them to feel beholden to me as a priest or as a teacher or as a whatever to do that. So I'm nervous about this stuff. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I will take this moment to say, if you dig us, seriously, tell other people about us.
Yeah.
And also, if you dig us, let us know. Every once in a while, it's nice to hear it.
It's true. It's positive.
I was talking to a former student of mine. He is a student at the University of Oregon. Go Ducks!
Nice.
And he will call. I think he called me up one time. I forget if he called me or texted me or whatever. But he basically said, "We're going through. Because of you. We're watching every single movie that like blankety blank made." And I don't remember who it was. It, like, might be Scorsese, or it might be something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Sure.
Like, and I feel bad that I don't remember. So Billy, if you're listening, like, remind me who it was. But like, it made me really happy because I was thinking, man, college sucked for me. And if I had sat around the hallway, like the dorm room my freshman year, and been like, let's all watch the same, like this, and I actually had hallmates that wanted to do that, they would have been like, meh. But if I had met people in college that were ready to undertake that crazy kind of journey with me, I think maybe I wouldn't have hated college so much. So if I partook in any sort of like him not hating college a little bit because of that, that's great. And I like the idea of people being fanatical movie watchers because of us.
Indeed.
And there's people like my friend Sarah who lives in San Francisco, and she started watching one of our podcasts, and she was like, I never watch movies, but now I'm starting to watch more movies because of you. I'm like, mission accomplished.
Indeed. Yes.
So.
Yes. I am able to talk to Jewish people, including my parents, about Mel Gibson again. That wasn't a thing that we did.
And Andy.
Yes.
What a mitzvah.
No. No.
It is.
I'm not getting that to you.
That's the appropriate use of the word.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I still don't want to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you, but I don't want to.
I understand.
Yeah, it's true. I have, I have these friends. I have these friends who, they will probably listen to this. That their yardstick for do they see a movie in the theater is, does Empire give it 4 or 5 stars? That's it.
Wow.
Which, I mean, it's a high bar to jump over, but at the same time, they see a lot less crap than I do.
Yeah, my brother, who says he only watches 10 movies and goes to the movie 10 times a year. Like, I only have time for 10 movies in a year. Don't waste my time. And so when I'm talking to him about movies, I'm like thinking in the back of my head, now that he's created that line, could this be one of the 10? That's why I was talking about Short Term 12. I was like, this is one of the 10.
Nice.
Like I can safely say this is one of the 10.
Yeah.
You know?
I ended up and like my friends who live around me are pretty open to different kinds of movies.
Right.
They're pretty open. Like if I want to see Iron Man 3 or Pacific Rim, I got somebody to go with.
Yep.
If I want to see Mud, I got somebody to go with, right?
Okay.
But these people, the Empire 4 or 5 stars people, they are lovely, and Lori and Jay, I didn't think I would have someone to go to The Hunt with, which is that Danish film about the guy who's falsely accused of molesting a kindergartner, and it's just so good. It was so good and absolutely devastating.
Right.
You know. I saw that with them. I saw Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing with them. Like, I
think you have a much better network than I do. I keep trying to get you to move out here, but maybe I should move out there.
I mean, you know my answer to that. And I know you never will. Don't tease me.
North Carolina is on my short list of states I would actually live in again.
Sure.
I would move back to North Carolina. I would live in New Hampshire. There's a couple places I would live in again.
Sure.
If I didn't live 2 miles from the ocean. I'm just saying.
Whatever. The tsunami's going to kill you faster.
Okay. That's fine. These are my people. I'll die with them.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
I mean, stunning absolutely no one, either hearing my voice, either Second Breakfast Nation or you. I think we could talk about this, which is functionally talking about nothing, forever. Forever. Oh, look at peppercorn. What else do you want to say? Shall we call it a day?
I hope that before the 300th movie, before the 300th episode,
yeah,
I would love for you and I to get a chance to watch a movie together again.
That would be great. Did we We didn't have time to watch a movie when I saw you in Virginia.
Nope.
That's you know what that is. That's bullpucky is what that is.
Bad planning on my part. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
Was it?
I've decided.
Okay.
Even if it wasn't. That's what I'm going to say.
All right.
Or just misprioritization.
You know what we could do? We can blame Bobby.
That's so-and-so.
Right? Bobby Gottfried. You are on the list.
On the list?
Folks.
Shun!
Folks.
This has been the 200th episode of Second Breakfast.
We say this at the end of most weeks. You haven't. You have not done this, but we hope you have had as much fun watching this as we have had doing it. Because impossible. It has been something truly special for us, and for me, and it sounds like for Phil too.
Yeah. And I think maybe if you were enjoying Andy's piercing eyes and my stunning jawline, maybe you could enjoy this as much as we have. But otherwise, no.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. But, here's to the next 200.
Yeah, baby.
And we love doing this. We love you guys. We would love you more if there were more of you.
It's true. It's a math equation.
That's right. Multiplication. Easy. Yeah. Simple math. Arithmetic. So tell us what you think. secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. Send us your mailbag questions. Send us your gauntlets. Send us your Mel G's categories.
Yes.
And
like us on Facebook.
Indeed.
Click on us on YouTube. Go to iTunes. Subscribe to us and rate us. Give us 5 stars.
Indeed.
Do that. Apparently that helps.
That helps in some way. I don't know what that does.
My friend Tyler told me. Do that.
Okay. And you know what? It's the 200th, but it's also just another one. So
that's it.
Yeah.
So you know what, Andy?
Yeah.
See you on Friday.
Guys, we are Second Breakfast Podcast. I'm Andy Roth, and that is Phil Duvall. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
The most important meal of the day, second